Oh, here we go. Straight up, we've got a DVD. Excellent. DVD. Ah, DVD. Hey. G'day scrappers. I often get asked what's inside a DVD and why do I pick up DVD players off the scrap heap. Well, I basically trained myself to pick up DVDs because I like picking up DVDs. I like scrapping them out. They're very easy to scrap, and they're something that I do in my downtime when I don't want to scrap anything really heavy or involved. I just want to sit down, have a cup of coffee and scrap out a few easy items, and so that's what I do. And also obviously there's scrap steel in the DVD players, so this is the way I prefer to accumulate scrap steel rather than just picking up pieces of steel. I prefer to get electronic items where I can take out the circuit boards and stuff and the wiring, get better value, and then I've still got my scrap steel at the end of it. So I've had a few requests to scrap some DVDs out and just show you what I get out of them and why I scrap them. So here I've got a whole collection of different kinds of boxes. So what I do is I've basically trained my eye when I'm driving past scrap piles to spot out DVD players, and so I can spot a DVD player from 100 meters away. So obviously not all boxes like this are DVD players, and this is why I don't even bother looking at what it is. When it looks like something like a DVD player, I pick it up, because if it's not a DVD player, it's usually something even better for circuit boards and gold recovery and stuff like that. So here we've got your standard DVD player, and then your next in line is your still a DVD player, but it's a Blu-ray player. There's not a lot of difference with Blu-ray players to DVDs. Sometimes they might have a little bit better board, but not really. And then the third kind of DVD player are the hard disk drive DVD recorders. So these are quite obvious because they're usually a lot heavier than a regular DVD player, and I particularly like these because sometimes they can have a little bit better boards, and they've also got a hard drive, so just a little bit better money, bit of better value, and especially if you're looking for gold recovery stuff, some people prefer to just sell their circuit boards as scrap circuit boards, and other people like me prefer to depopulate the boards and get the gold recovery stuff out of it as well. And then, so they're the DVD players, and then the other oddball things that, I pick up, assuming that it's a DVD player, but it's not, things like the digital set-top boxes. Okay, so we got high-definition digital terrestrial receiver. So, obviously not a DVD player, but just as good, if not better. Sometimes they've got better boards in there, and and they come in all different shapes and sizes. These are especially coming out, being thrown out now because people are no longer using these. They only lasted for about 3 or 4 years. People now have televisions that does everything. These were mostly used for the old style televisions to enable them to get some digital channels, but now every TV is a digital channel TV. So so there you go, digital terrestrial receiver. A lot of these, we call them set-top boxes here. Here's a Sony, so basically high definition digital receiver. Sometimes these ones can have hard drives in there as well, so a little bit extra value, gold recovery value and stuff like that. And then the other thing are these kind of cable digital satellite boxes or cable boxes. So this one's a Foxtel digital satellite box. This one here is your Foxtel IQ, so another type of cable television kind of deal. These cable boxes I find are very good because they have pretty good boards in there, and again, obviously they can have hard drives in there, so added value, and and they're also a very common thing because these companies tend to you know, upgrade technology as well, so you know, they're always changing their set-top boxes. What I'm going to do here now is, because people have asked me, you know, why I scrap them out and what do I get out of them, I thought I'm going to take a range of these different DVD players, set-top boxes, satellite and cable boxes, and just scrap out a whole bunch, and just to give you an idea on what I get out of them, and how I grade the boards and so on like that. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the basic DVD player, go to Blu-ray, go to the hard drive DVDs, then the set-top boxes, and then the satellite. So let's start opening a few out and having a look what's inside. Right, so we'll start off with our first DVD. Basically, I've opened undone the screws just to make it a little bit quicker. All these little screws, sometimes they can have a lot, so it takes quite a long time if I had to unscrew them all. But yeah, so let's just go through a few and basically just talk you through it. Alright, so there we go, first DVD. It's got obviously the power board here, just low grade. This is virtually nothing, that brown board, so this one I don't even bother taking out because there's no value there, just might as well leave it as scrap metal. And same as the little LCD screen boards, I don't bother taking them, just got to open up too much and there's really no value. So this is all we really want, is your main peripheral board here and the power board. So that's basically it. And so yeah, you know, it's just it's not high value stuff, and I just like to do this when I don't want to do heavy work, just have a bit of fun, and yeah, just when I want to sort of sit back and just relax. You can also take out your actual DVD player here. There's really not much in these, but just for argument's sake, depends on how much time you wanted to spend on each board, each DVD. And yeah, quite often there's always an actual DVD still inside. The only thing is, by the time you fiddle around and try and take off these brackets and all that, you sort of damage the disc anyway. You really need to take the disc out first. But here we've just got a couple of little wires, and so, you know, it all adds up. Some low grade, and then we've got a couple of motors if you want to spend time getting them out. I don't go overboard trying to get them out, but usually the easy ones, you know, and so I can just throw this in electric motors, same as this one. Normally just pops straight out. So, you know, a couple of motors. The rest, you know, I don't worry about this little board here. Sometimes you can get to the little brass piece in there, but if it's not exposed, not easy, I just leave it like that. That just goes back into my DVD as scrap. And there we have it. So here we've just got a peripheral board, if you like, or a mid-grade board. The chips here are not spectacular, but they're still good for gold recovery. Just depends. Sometimes they're worth depopulating. In this case, not really. You might as well keep the weight on it and just sell it as a peripheral board, or a mid-grade board. A little crystal there, but that's it. So not a great deal, and a little bit of weight, but they're not highly valuable. So, but you know, it all adds up in the end. And there we go, just a power board, you know. And you know, here we've got a couple of copper spools. you know, that you can get some copper out of. You've got a transformer there. The rest is just basically low grade, and that's it. It's really straightforward, and that's what I like about them. Put it back together, and there's my scrap steel ready to go. And so that's my preferred way of accumulating scrap steel when I'm scrapping out PCs, microwave ovens, all that. It really does add up to quite a lot of scrap steel anyway. So that's it. There we go, peripheral board, or here in Australia, mid-grade board, low-grade board, power board, 2 motors, and a little bit of wire. And that's it. So very little value. I mean, I don't get overly excited when I pick them up, but they do get better. So here's just another plain DVD. Same deal. Again, peripheral board and a low grade board. So we'll undo the DVD drive just to be able to access the little wires and stuff, but it just depends how far you go. I mean, if you don't pick up a lot of electronics and you got more time, then you know you can pick through this as hard as you like. So there we go, just another style of a low grade. CD player. Okay, we can get that motor out there, get this little motor out here, and that'll do us. Like I said, you can sort of pop this part out and you can get to the little brass piece in there, but I don't go that hard into them because I do a lot of DVD boards from, you know, from computers. So I've broken a bit here. That's really nothing anyway. Can still throw it in mid-grade. It's got a little thing. And there we go. Once again, got a decent piece of wire and a decent peripheral board here, you know. And to some people, it's you know, worth just depopulating everything. Like this chip here, it's quite a big chip, so it does add weight to if you are accumulating flat packs and IC chips for either gold recovery or to resell as gold recovery. You know, a couple little basic IC chips on the back there. So yeah, it just depends, up to you whether you like to go for the gold recovery bits or just sell it as a peripheral board. There we go, a little bit of wire, and that's it. So yeah, again, I don't bother with the little LCD or the little tactile switch boards. They don't really have any value, so the time that it takes to get it out, it's not really, you know, worth it. So that was the 2 basic DVD players. Then we've got a Blu-ray, and pretty much, yep, the same thing really. Okay, so as you can see, being a Blu-ray player, it's a little bit more involved. We've even got a little, looks like someone's christening, and yeah, so a lot bigger board, better value. So this is what I mean with you know, I just pick up any DVDs that I see, and because you just don't know what's going to be inside. Sometimes the boards can be a high grade board. They got better IC chips. Like on this one, I can see we've got BGAs. So BGAs are obviously usually better for gold recovery. So get all the screws. So yeah, I really enjoy doing them. I don't know, you know, some people might think, oh, there's just not enough value in there to worry about, but you know, it all adds up. Even these low-grade ribbon wire, it all adds up. Once again, like in here, I can see the little copper rod in here off the motor. The motors are usually very tiny on these copper rods, but if I can access them without too much hassle, I'll get them. So see, that's just a little bit of, sorry, brass, and that's it. Just a little bit of brass. It all adds up, and I'll get that motor out and throw the thing back in there. Okay, so there we've got the power board. Just goes as a low grade power board. You know, before you sold something like this, you know, might be worth taking off the little copper spools if you want extra copper. But you know, they've got quite a bit of ferrite in there, so it kind of works out the same if you, whether you leave them on or solder boards like that or what. A little bonus peripheral board. So there we go. And so here we've got little class 1 BGA chips, right, similar to like RAM BGA. So these are, you know, good value, almost worth depopulating the whole lot. And this one as well, the Samsung BGA. So yeah, these chips are really good value. And you know what, if you actually took these chips off, you could probably still get away with selling it as a peripheral board or a mid-grade board. Just depends on your buyer. So when you're selling stuff and you're partially depopulating boards, don't just assume your buyer's going to accept it. Some buyers won't accept any form of depopulation, so if they see chips missing, expect to get it downgraded. So really got to understand your buyer first. But in this case, you know, we've got some MLCCs there. We've got 3 crystals, got some smaller flat pack IC chips here. So it might be worth depopulating, going for the whole chips. But if you look at the whole board, it's quite a heavy board. So we do get good value just selling it as a mid-grade board. But you know, I like these class 1 BGAs. So they're good for gold recovery. So there we go. A little board here. Not much. Just remove the wire from the fan. Depends, you know, you can just throw this back into scrap steel if you like, or some people, I don't normally do it with small fans, but you know, you can just sell that now as a motor. Normally I take off the fins just so it looks more like a motor rather than a fan. There we go, a little electric motor that we can throw in with motors. And the rest, just scrap steel. So that was the Blu-ray, and just for comparison, we'll do this LG Blu-ray as well. Now, here's a nice little difference. So we've got our power board, we've got our main peripheral board, but in this case we've got a hard drive, so it's an extra bonus. So I'll notice this as being a little bit heavier. Usually when they're heavier, it's because there's a hard drive in it. So that's a bonus. Some people, you know, if you like to collect movies and stuff like that, well, You can always put this on the PC and take off the movies off it. There might be some good movies, you never know. Usually it's probably just television programs and stuff. So there we go. What's this one? It wouldn't be too big, 250 gigabytes. But it's a hard drive, and we can sell this now as a hard drive. You can try and get it out. Okay, scrap steel. So here we've got this little hard drive board, and yeah, these hard drive boards, the modern style, I don't value these as regular hard drive boards. If you're lucky enough to have a buyer that buys all kinds of hard drive boards, you're better off selling it as a hard drive board. Otherwise, to me, it's just a peripheral board. Usually I pay high grade, which is about 40 cents a kilo more than mid grade. But in this case, what I like to do on these, just sell it as a mid grade. I just take off these nice little MLCCs, and usually I take off this chip here. That's the memory chip, and it doesn't really spoil the board that much. And I put these in with just memory IC chips, because they're all uniform in size and shape. Give you an example, I just got these in today. So they're all the memory IC chips, as opposed to the memory BGAs, which are much higher value. But because they're all uniform like this, I actually pay more for these kind of chips, because as opposed to IC chips, simply because of how uniform they are. So we've got, from that, we've got our hard drive. Looks like it. Pop out this. This is a bit more of a sealed unit. Take a little bit more effort to get the stuff out of it, but basically I'll just get that motor, a couple of little pieces of wire. I don't worry about the actual DVD reader. You know, some people will say, oh, there's a little bit of gold in there or precious metals in there. I've never seen anyone actually recover precious metals from it. It's just too small and too time consuming. If you had a ton of them, okay, yep, no problem, you know, they would have good value. But so just a basic power board, and very basic mid-grade board, you know, peripheral board. Okay, oh well, I say a lie. They've hidden, so I looked at it and there's really nothing on there, you know. There's some crystals and there's an IC chip there and a couple of little ones, but very little on this side. But flip it over and it's actually quite good. Although, see, that's a BGA chip here, but this is a lower form of BGA, because that silver, what you see there, that's copper. So these usually don't have much gold recovery, so they're like 10% of what a BGA, like these BGAs. These BGA chips by weight are worth 10 times more than these ones, right? So in this case, because it just looks like a normal mid-grade peripheral board, can leave everything on here. There are some giant MLCCs you might want to take, but on this side you could probably take most of the chips off. Like this one here is just a flat pack, but it'll be a pretty good one, I reckon, this one. You can even take that IC chip, this IC chip, leave that one with the silicon. These are not worth anything for gold recovery, so you're better off just leaving it on the board so it looks more intact. And but these are the ones you want. These BGAs here, they're the highest grade. Two more there. They're memory BGAs. I think I pay about $80 a kilo for these. So they're the ones we want. So I'll just take off these wrapping around, these two, that and that, leave these two on, and we've still got ourselves a board that we can sell as a mid-grade board. So that's a pretty good board, and so pretty good value here. We've got a big board that we get more value out of. We've got some chips that we can take off. That's only if you're into gold recovery. If you're not into depopulating or gold recovery itself, then just leave everything on and sell it as what it is, and the bonus hard drive. So there we go. I'll take the motor out still, but that's the two first versions of DVDs. You've got regular DVDs, Blu-ray player DVDs, which you saw. Blu-rays can also be good, got much better boards than a regular DVD player. And then we've got these recordable DVD players. So DVD recorder, obviously they've got to have a hard drive in there to record stuff. Okay, so it looks it's certainly a lot more intense and a lot more involved here, but as you can see, the main board under here, this is a brown board. It's just a low grade, and we've got the power board still here, low grade, but under here we've got our main control board. So this is the main board we want. There's our hard drive and the DVD drive, so a lot more involved. So when you're picking these up, you think, okay, I just pick them up, I just assume it's a DVD player, but you know, when it's a hard disc DVD player, it's a bonus. You've got a lot of goodies in here. It's just a small box, but it's really packed with stuff. Even though there's low grade stuff in here, it's still packed with electronics, and that's why I really enjoy taking them, and because and they're fun. They're usually nice and clean, like not like PCs, where PCs can be really dusty. These are clean, easy to scrap. You know, even like an 8-year-old kid could scrap this out, because all it is just undoing all the screws that you see. It's very easy. There's nothing toxic in here. It's a real fun thing if you want your kid to you know, scrap a little bit of stuff, you know, save all the DVD type players for them, and it feels like, you know, you're scrapping something substantial. Okay, so again, our DVD player, this one will need a little bit of work to get most of the stuff out of it. Just depends how much time you want to spend. We'll try and get our hard drive out. Once again, we can always hook this up to the computer and see if there's any good videos on there or stuff that you might want to keep. This one's 160 gigabytes, so not a great deal, but it all adds up to the value, you know. And so here's our main board, and I'll just try and get this stuff off. Okay, so this is a really nice little peripheral board. It's almost like a logic board. It's quite a high grade board. So on this side, you know, just a few basic chips, some gold pins, but over here we've got a class 2 BGA chip, really nice big one, so we get value out of there. And we also got 2 memory BGAs, again class 1, highest value, second highest value. So these are higher value because they don't have this plastic on the base, so most of the gold is in this ceramic-y, plasticky stuff. So there you go, that's quite a nice board. And in this case, this board I wouldn't sell as a scrap circuit board. I would rather depopulate, take all the chips off and get the value that way. Even get these gold pins in here. So so that's a really nice board for your gold recovery people. Otherwise you would just sell this as a peripheral board if you're not into gold recovery. So another peripheral mid-grade kind of board, so that's okay. We've got our power board, and once again it's just a low grade board. It's kind of like a circuit board, but it's really got nothing on it. And well, here's another good little board actually. So we've got some really nice chips, and for the weight, much better off to, you know, again, if you're into the gold recovery, is to take these chips off and put them in your gold recovery bucket, because for what you're going to get paid for this as a peripheral board, you're probably better off just getting the chips off it, even a little one there. Just up to you. And finally, our nice big low grade board. In some cases, I don't even bother taking them out. All I'll do is I'll take off the couple of crystals that you see there. There's really nothing else of value here. You might have some gold pins in here. Might want to, you know, rip this off. Yeah. Yeah, I can barely see it, so not very good value in that either. But yeah. So these are connected to the main LCD screen at the front here. So it's just too time consuming to try and undo all this plastic and try and get the LCD screen. There's no value there. So, okay, in this case it stayed on. Otherwise, sometimes the whole thing just breaks off. But as you can see, so it's basically very low grade. There's almost nothing on this side except for those two crystals that I might take off, or even this little round tubular crystal. That's the same thing. But on the other side, we do have some chips. So before I was to sell this as a low grade board, I would actually take these chips off, because they all add up, and then I'd still get low grade for it, so it's not going to really affect it, the value of it. So there we go. That's a recordable DVD, and we've got some, you know, we've got the higher end stuff to go, but I'll just give you another look at, I need to change the battery, but I'll give you another look at one more recordable DVD player. Okay, so new battery, and I think I had it a little bit, I had the light on, so I think it made everything a bit too bright, so I've turned the light off. So here's our final DVD player version. That's once again a recorded DVD player. So these are the real ones that you're hoping for to get, because you're going to get a hard drive in every one. So what I'll do is I'll just flip it over, have a look. Okay, sometimes the hard drives are screwed on from underneath, but in this case it looks like we're ready to go. Okay, so here we have it. This one looks, you know, as you can see, it's jam-packed with stuff. So we're getting good value here compared to most electronics. So this is why I love this stuff. I'll take it, you know, and it seems that no one else really wants DVD players. They don't really bother with them, but there is not that many scrappers here around here that are into selling circuit boards, unfortunately. They probably don't know that there are buyers like me that buy circuit boards, and they can, you know, really maximize their value. So they just look at these as scrap steel, but, you know, and really this takes no time flat. Like, you can do these in a few minutes if you really wanted to rush, but I prefer to just take my time and have a bit of fun with them. And it's a really nice laid back scrapping thing, and that's why I recommend that if you've got kids that want to get in a workshop and scrap stuff out with you, you know, you focus on the heavy duty stuff and the dirty stuff, and give them some of this really cream easy stuff to do, and they'll have a lot of fun. And yeah, I just love this stuff. Like I said, I sit down, I have a few beers, and I'll just go through one at a time. No rush. Okay, so there's our main board, and you know, it's quite a good one as far as value is concerned. Other side, just a few little IC chips. Got some tantalum capacitors here, so that's handy. But again, because this is the copper top BGA, it's very low value, so unless you're depopulating the whole board, you're better off just leaving that on because you're not getting much. But in this case, this board's almost worth completely depopulating because, you know, we do have all these memory IC chips, you know, some flat packs, a couple of crystals, and then we've got 2 sets of gold pins here, so it's a bit of value. So for me, I'm sort of umming and ahhing about this one. What I'll probably do is I'll probably just take off some of these, you know, probably take off these 4 IC chips and then sell the rest as still a peripheral board. And here's our nice hard drive under there. So awesome. That's what we want. Okay, now hard drives aren't highly valuable. I buy them for $1 a kilo. You know, some buyers might pay up to $1.50 a kilo for them. Some people like to, you know, scrap these out completely for the metals, stainless steel top, cast aluminium body. You get the circuit board, you get the magnets, even the disc platter. Okay. So we've got some ribbon wire. Got our main DVD player. So this one's better value because, you know, we're getting some good heavy ribbon wire, and this DVD is just the irregular PC type of DVD, so I'll process this like normal. I'll get it out of this casing. And yeah, these ones I open right up because, yeah, they're just like a PC DVD drive. Scrap metal. Yeah, so just like a regular kind of PC DVD drive. So I do these pretty quickly. Every PC that I scrap out. As you can see, we've got a full-size DVD board here, so it's not highly valuable. I wouldn't depopulate these. I would just sell this as a peripheral board, even though we've got gold pins on there. But as you can see, it's not a whole lot on them, and for the weight, better off just selling it as is. And yeah, my standard thing I do here is I remove this motor. Pretty simple, and I don't worry about this little motor often. I'll just get that little brass, just that little piece of brass, and apart from taking a bit of ribbon wire off, that's how I throw them into scrap steel. I don't worry about these. I used to take these out and accumulate them, but I just can't find anyone that's going to process them. There is just too many mixed metals in there, and there's not a lot of pressure. Sure, there is. Someone's going to say, oh yeah, there's platinum or there's gold and there's all kinds of things. Yeah, but try and get it out. It'll cost you a lot more than the bit of gold or whatever else you'd get out of it. So for the time, I can't see the value in it. So we've got quite a bit of wire here, you know, and it all adds up. Once again, we've got a nice little power board here with a decent bit of weight. If you sell this as a power board, you know, and you accumulate for gold recovery, you might as well take these little IC chips out because no one's going to notice them. You take them, you still sell it as a power board. You know, just depends how far you want to go. And we've got a bonus board. So once again, we've got a This is for all the jacks and stuff. Even those jacks, they're all gold plated, but they're very low value because they're very thin plating, and yeah, there's a lot of contaminants there to that's going to eat up a lot of your acids. But I'm pretty sure the best way to do these is by reverse electroplating, trying to get it off, but you still need a lot to make it worthwhile. But still, it's I can get away with a mid-grade board here, or a peripheral board. Probably for peripheral, it depends where you are. Here in Australia, this would go as a mid-grade board, which is about, I pay about $1.40, $1.50 a kilo. In some other countries, you might want to remove this piece here in order to get peripheral board, which is about the same value. Then we've just got another little board under here. Because it's a green board and it looks like a bit of a circuit board, just depends what else is on it. So yeah, this one, because it's got no chips on it, nothing really of value. Okay, even though you might want to take off these gold jacks, and the rest, this would just be a low grade board because there's no actual chips on it, so it can't be anything but. And a little bit of wire. Yeah, there's a little bit of you can throw that in brass, and that's it. So that's all our DVDs. Plain DVDs, Blu-ray DVDs, and recordable DVDs. So that was good. And in that pile, as you can see, we've got a decent collection. Power board, a mid-grade DVD board, right, a really good mid-grade board that we can depopulate partially, and it's not going to affect it. Just a low-grade board here, and we've got a hard drive. So quite good value for a tiny little box, so that's what I like about them. They're really great. And so that's the little accumulation of stuff we've done from, I think we've done 6 types of DVDs, so quite a pile. We've already filled up a bucket of stuff. So I'm just trying to say that it doesn't take long to start to get good value out of something so simple as a DVD. And because here in Australia no one seems to want them, and I pick them up like I treat them as if they're a real bonus, because hey, they're easy to carry, easy to stack up, easy to scrap out, and you end up getting great little value out of it, especially if you're like me and you're into gold recovery. Well, then it all adds up. Okay, so the next sort of things I wanted to do was the set-top boxes. So this one's a high definition digital receiver. So as I mentioned before, it's a very common thing that we are getting in scrap now. And so these are the first up are the base models. So as you can see, you can't get any cleaner than that. The only real difference from this to a DVD player is it doesn't have a DVD drive, but it's still got the same two things: power board and a peripheral board. So you can't get any simpler than this, and look how clean it is, not a speck of dust. So it's a really nice thing to scrap, and real fun, especially if you're just new to scrapping. And but yeah, as I said, I recommend this sort of stuff to your kids and stuff, to let them scrap stuff like this out if you want to give them the scrapping bug. I mean, you can't get any simpler than that. I undone 4 or 5 screws and bang, there we go. So we've got our nice power board. We sell that as a power board. We just take off the wires and stuff like that, and here's our mid-grade board, and it just depends on what kind of chip underneath there is. So because you get more value if you just left this aluminium heatsink on there than you do if you took it off. But in this case, I want to see what the actual chip is, and so it's just a nice big flat pack. So but because it's got all this junk and very, it's the weight is all in this no value stuff. There's no gold in this part here, and there's really nothing in there. You might get a little crystal, but there's a crystal down there you can take off. and there's another one there. So all I'd be inclined to do is, again, just take off these two memory chips, put them in with your IC chips, clean up the wires, and take the crystals obviously, and then sell the rest as a mid-grade peripheral board. That way, you know, because of the weight, if it didn't have this junk on it, then I'd probably depopulate, because this is a nice big chip, you know. But because it's got so much weight, if I depopulate this, I'm you know, probably losing. So, but that's it. So very simple, a 2-minute job, and there we go. Power board, mid-grade board, and even got a extruded aluminium heatsink. So that's your base style. Okay, another version of a set-top box, digital terrestrial receiver. And here's a nice one, right? So this is a bonus, because this one actually has a hard drive in it. So perfect score, and more than that, it's actually got quite a high grade board. So real bonus here. And this is what I love about it most, is when you get better than mid-grade board, and you get the bonus of a hard drive. Just get this hard drive out. Okay, so this is a 120 gig hard drive, just another one to the pile. You know, and you know, we scrap, you know, pick up a lot of PCs, and a lot of PCs have had their hard drives removed, obviously because people want to protect their data. So this kind of makes up for the PCs that we don't get hard drives in, because people don't worry about their DVD recorders or set-top boxes or anything like this, because it's mainly television programs and stuff that they've kept on it. So bonus, hard drive. Power board with pretty decent heavy wire on it too. Okay, some more wires here that we can take off and clean up. So, and each one I don't jump to the next one until I've finished everything completely. So that would include, you know, trimming all the wires off and cutting all the plugs off and all that sort of thing. All right, so here we've got a really good mid-grade board, because it's got this IBM BGA here. See, it's the IBM Power PC. It's like a CPU. So, you know, these are, you know, BGA class 2, good for gold recovery. So in this case, I would take this chip off. I would take the crystal oscillator off, the crystal here, and leave the rest, and still sell it as a mid-grade kind of board, right? Even though this kind of stuff, it's got a lot of weight to it, but because of this chip is so high value, I'd be inclined to take this chip off. Yeah, you just got to be careful with your buyer. You know, if you're dealing in a lot of it, you're not going to notice a few boards with a couple of chips, but it still depends on your buyer. Like for me, if someone came and brought me this board with this chip removed, you know, I'd still probably buy it as a mid-grade board, but there wouldn't want to be too many of them. Otherwise, I'd have to downgrade them, because all this junk, you know, this kind of goes as low grade. So, but that's a good board. So, really nice chip. See? So, we've got that. We've got the power board, standard, you know, only worth about 30 cents a kilo or so, and bonus hard drive. So that was a good one. Just a set-top box, you know, which when I picked it up, you know, I wouldn't have even looked at it. I would have said, oh yeah, there's a DVD, just take it away. And I'm not fussy. Okay, so again, just a basic box, and as I mentioned, these are becoming very common. So expect to see these over the next couple of years. Really, you know, a lot of them getting thrown out, because They're no longer got that technology, and that's very nice inside. So it doesn't have a hard drive. It's still a power board, even though it's a green board. It's still basically got all the power stuff, the copper transformers and that. So it still goes as a power board. But yeah, looks like a nice little board here. Wow, it's got a lot of screws on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws for one board. Now that's amazing, considering that there's also screws in the back that I've already taken off that hold this whole part up. But okay, and we want to look at this chip. So okay, so see this chip, it's a beautiful big BGA chip, but as you can see, it's a copper top, so it's only worth 10% of what a regular BGA chip is worth. Even though this one might have good gold recovery in there, we just don't know until we actually start processing them, or you bust it open and have a look if there's bonding wires and that. But other than that, it's still a good board. I wouldn't take this off, I'll just leave this on, but instead I'll take these 4 memory chips off, right? And these IC chips will go into gold recovery, and I'll take off this crystal, upright crystal there, and then leave the rest, and I'll still get mid-grade board for it. And once again, because we've got all this stuff, it adds weight, so they're pretty good value boards. No worries about that. I'll just get this power board out. Okay, yep, so just basically a power board. So very simple thing to scrap, very clean. You don't need to even wear gloves in this sort of stuff. There's nothing toxic when you're scrapping out stuff like this. There's not even any dust to worry about. So okay, well, that was good. So this was just another high definition receiver. Yeah, wow, look at that one. Now that's nice. Look at the size of that mid-grade board. But in this case, we've got a really nice BGA chips here. So this one here is what I class as instead of a mid-grade, I class as a high grade. So it goes for a little bit more because of these BGA chips. So this one here, really nice. In this case, because it's got so many chips on it, I'm inclined to depopulate this whole thing, because I want these 2 nice BGA chips. I want that nice big NEC flat pack, these memory modules, and there's even gold pins running along there I can break off. So we've got some good stuff here. This one here I would sell as a mid-grade, and obviously we've got a power board. So straightforward, but you know, that's really nice. So there's no, it's unlike a DVD player, there's no DVD drive, so all the weight is either in the steel or it's in these boards because they're so big. So that's a classic reason why I pick up DVD players. Okay, so we're almost there. So here is one of those Foxtel, it's a satellite box. So it's a little bit different. It's for satellite television, decoder, whatever it is. So here's just a little one, and again, you see this on the street, pick it up, you're thinking, oh, this is a DVD player, you know? So it's not until you actually pay attention to what it is that you realize that it's not. And you open it up, obviously there's not going to be a DVD drive in there. And look at that. So virtually 70% of the box is one whole board. So that's really nice, you know, so you're getting value there. And you also got your power board, but this is really nice. And in here we've got a little, still got the Foxtel card. So it's just like a SIM card or something. It's got your little bit of gold in there, you know. They add up, but they're really not that good for gold recovery, but still, you know, probably the card is more of a collectible than the value of gold you get out of it. But check that board out, and you know, I mean, it's not, you know, the board before was better, but we do have one high grade class 1 BGA chip in the middle here. So in this case, I would sell this as a mid-grade board or a peripheral board, and the only thing I would take off here, aside from the crystals, is this central chip here, right? I'd pop that off, get my high value gold recovery for that, and then I'd sell this board as a mid-grade board, and there's a power board. So now we're starting to get higher end with these satellite boxes and stuff like that. And here's another Foxtel version. This is the Foxtel IQ2. So and again, these are kind of already become old technology. So again, it's like a cable box or a satellite box. I think it's just a cable TV box, but now they've got even more high tech, so you'll start to find a lot of these around. And check that out. So we've got 3 mid-grade boards here. We've got the hard drive here and a power board. So we're great value. I mean, there's probably just as much value, or yeah, as a PC. So they're as good as a computer. See, we've got the hard drive, okay, in there straight away, just like a computer. The only thing we're not getting is RAM, obviously, and slot cards or CPUs, but pretty much everything else in here. And yeah, I won't take this one out because it's got little torque screws. I haven't got it, but just to give you a little bit of an example on the value we've got here. And we've got this main chip under here. Okay, so this one is just once again, copper top, not as good value, so you're better off just leaving that on there. But there are a couple of little BGAs there, so these little BGA chips, you might want to pop them off. You know, it all adds up. And maybe even one of these memory modules, get the crystals, and this one I'd sell, and this one I'd sell, just as mid-grade boards. So not a bad one. If this was not a copper top BGA, it'd be great, but pretty good. Okay, and this is the other company, the Optus version of a satellite kind of receiver, or a cable box. Again, you're finding these much more often now, so expect to see these in the next couple of years on the street. So if you're in Melbourne, just leave them on the street, I'll pick them up. Here we go again. So we've got a lot of these things. So obviously this is just a mid-grade board. We've got this one's got a 1 terabyte hard drive in there, so still pretty modern, still pretty good. And if you're short on hard drives, like, you know, I'm up to 2 terabyte hard drives in scrap. I'm getting a lot of 2 terabytes, very common, so 1 terabyte isn't very special anymore. But if you're short on hard drives and you want data storage, there you go, 1 terabyte, can't go wrong with that. Only thing I want to see here is have a look at the chip. I don't have to take it out because the video is just probably already way too long, so I just want to show you some stuff. So here we've got a rubber cap over the BGA. So, well, I'm glad I've got one of these BGAs. So as you can see, that BGA chip, it's got a silicon top, right? So these BGAs are worthless. So do not take these off your boards, downgrade your board for one of these chips. You're better off just selling it with this chip intact. It looks fancy, but for gold recovery, they're nothing. They're not worth anything. I don't even buy these anymore. So you're much better off leaving it on the board and letting the big refiners go for whatever they can get out of it. But for regular guys, we can't get any gold out of that. So again, power board, we've got and 2 mid-grade boards, and that's about it. But we've got the hard drive, so good value, you know. It's valued at half a PC. Well, except that we don't get as much scrap steel, obviously, at the end of it. And the final one, well, this is again a Foxtel. It's a digital cable box. So just to see a few different variations, you know, I just want to give everyone just an example of what's in these things. And when you're going and you see a DVD, just don't say, oh, that's just a DVD. You know, I can't be bothered getting a little power board and a little mid-grade board out of it, you know. Just pick them up, because sometimes you get surprised and you get some really good boards out of there, and even the cheapest DVD is still worth it. So here we've got a hard drive. Right, it's probably going to have some TV programs on it or whatever, if you wanted to go to that extreme. So this is only 160 gigabytes, so you know, quite old, but we've still got a hard drive. You know, we can depopulate that board or just sell the whole thing complete. But here we've got, you know, there's no real power board. This is basically a mixture of power board and mid-grade board all together. So it goes as a mid-grade board or a peripheral board. Probably just a mid-grade board in the States, because it's got these copper transformers. It sort of downgrades it a little bit. But look at the size of that BGA, and it's just your regular class 2 BGA, second highest value, really good stuff. This is this chip here is well worth going for, but it just depends on what you want to do, because if you in this case, if you remove this chip, you've really downgraded this board. So it's you know, it's really up to you depending on what you do. If you're into purely for gold recovery and stuff like that, then depopulate the whole lot. You know, we do have a couple of little BGA chips here, some IC chips, crystals and stuff like that, but not overly high value. It's just this chip stands out as a very high value chip. But yeah, so, and a hard drive. So there you go, guys. That's why I pick up DVDs. That's why I enjoy scrapping them out, and that's pretty much what I get out of them. So, you know, I keep saying all this stuff adds up, and I don't hesitate picking them up, and neither should you, especially if you're into gold recovery stuff and you sell hard drives and boards to a board buyer. You're getting good value out of all this stuff. So I hope that was a bit of fun, guys. DVDs, set-top boxes, satellite boxes, cable boxes. I pick them all up. I love them. So, alright guys, well, I'll catch you next time with probably a bit of street scrapping next.